Hello, my name is Natasha Barkin, and I will be speaking on controlling the tongue for my six weeks of my personal and spiritual discipline class. Um, Over the years, I've had trouble controlling my tongue. When I get angry or I feel that someone has done something to me that I didn't like, I would always say stuff that I shouldn't have said. I try to make the person feel like I felt, by bringing them down. I know that it's not right, and I know that's something that I should have worked on long before now, but I didn't. And now that I've grown, I'm older, and I'm trying my best to grow and develop and more of a Christian, more like Christian like. I've noticed that, once you release something out into the atmosphere that's not appropriate, that you can't take it back. No matter how many times you try to apologize and try to assure the person that you was wrong and that you won't do it anymore, it's still that stabbing that they feel in their heart that never goes away. So I'm about to attempt to talk about how to control my tongue. You probably know the pain of regretting words you have spoken, words of pride, dishonesty, envy, gossip, or anger. Although you may speak to restore bruised relationships through repentance, forgiveness, spoken words can never be retrieved. Scripture 1. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the edifying, that it may master grace under the hearers. Ephesians 4 and 29. Consider the following terms for taming the tongue. With human efforts alone, no one can tame his tongue. The tongue can no man tame. It is unruly, evil, full of deadly poison. James 3 and 8. Only by the grace of God in your life can you speak to control your speech. I can do all things through Christ that strengthen me. Philippians 4 and 13. Dedicate your heart and tongue to the Lord each day. You face new circumstances and new conversations every day, regularly acknowledging your needs for discernment. And God's grace help you remain conscious of your words. Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Psalms 19 and 14. We should always put your heart in tune with God's Spirit by daily reading His Word. Our scriptures are given by inspiration of God. It is it is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for corrections, for instructions, and in righteousness, and that a man of God may be perfect, throughout furnished unto all good works. 2 Timothy 3 verses 16 and 17. Meditate on scripture that address the power of words. By studying scriptures about the tongue, you can gain insights into the power of your words. Memorizing and meditating on the verses will strengthen your resolve and speak with grace. Thy word that I have hid in my heart, and I might not sin against them. Psalms 119 in verses 11. Assume responsibility for every word you speak. God desires that you speak the truth and that you keep your word. He will hold you responsible for what you speak. Every idle word that man should speak, thou should give account therefore in the day of judgment. Now that's the hard one for me because just like I said in the past, when I've become angry or upset or sometimes it's just kind of brutal, kind of ugly, and tried to get my point across and then use quite nice words. I was kind of ugly with it. I'm gonna have to give and count for those days. And just like I said, once I set those words free, you know, it was impossible for me to bring them back. So now, instead of trying to tear down a person with the words that I speak, I try to bring them up. It's much easier to be nice and to speak nice words than to be mean. When you try to be mean with a person by speaking, by control, by the tongue, by the words that come out your mouth, you know, it have a tendency to break the person down. Might not have make them have a good day. You know, a kind of example is a bullying. Once you see something about a person that you don't like, you just continue to talk about it, concentrate about it, and you never know what's going on with that person, how that person is feeling about them, and sometimes it could really affect the person to the point that they feel that they're unworthy, that they're not important, and it does something to their mind. And I've known of kids that actually, once a child says something about them, that they kill themselves, or and then you can use words, to build a person up. If you have somebody's having a bad day, and you find something that you like, or maybe they may be wearing a pretty dress, or their hair is pretty, or they just have a beautiful personality that shines everything. You can tell them, "Oh, you're beautiful," and I like the way you dress. I like the way you smell. And you never know when a person is going through something that can uplift them. Um, Also, ask those around you if you use words that are offensive. Your family, friends, co-workers, and acquaintances can absorb the effects of your words and attitude. Ask them about your speak pattern and evaluate the observation they share. See Proverbs 27, 6 and 17, verses 6 and 17. Commit yourself to giving a good report, and when it is necessary, to follow the biblical principles of correction. Thou shalt not go up and down as talebearers among thy people. Among thy people, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt not be anywise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbors thyself. I am the Lord. Leviticus 19:16 through 18. If thy brother shall transgress against thee, go and tell him his faults between thee and him alone. Matthews 18 and 15. Fulfill past promises and think carefully before making any new promises. You need to fulfill the purposes you have made, even when you're doing so require unforeseen sacrifice. God will bless the ones who swear to his own hurt and change not. Psalms 15 and 4. Jesus said, let your communication be yeah, 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 nay, nay. Matthews 5 and 37. Ask for forgiveness for any unsolved words or attitudes. For in many things we offend all, but if a man offend not in the word, the same is the perfect man. James 3 and 2. When you speak words that shouldn't have been spoken, seek forgiveness. Let all evil speaking be put away from you with all malice, and be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted, forgiving one another, even as God for Christ's sakes has forgiven you. Ephesians 4:31 through 32. We should always ask for forgiveness when we say something that's not pleasing to another person. Just as easy as you let those words come out of your mouth, you can easily just go back and say, look, I'm sorry. You know, even though I'm having a bad day, I shouldn't have taken out what I took out on you. Just asking for forgiveness. And I feel that they will forgive you. Because in order for us for God to forgive us, We have to forgive ones who have done stuff to us, But just like I said, sometimes you just have to pray over stuff. Because I promise you, I have to pray over stuff daily. I have to ask God to control my mouth, to control my thoughts, to control my feelings. Lord, please don't let me say something that, might tear somebody down. We should all be about building somebody up instead of letting somebody down. Because just like I told you, you would never want a person. You should never say anything about a person that you don't want to be said about you. That's what my pastor was talking about one night in Bible study. He was like, you know, you should never want to bring a person down, and you should never want a person to feel bad. You should always pick them up, and if you don't want ugly things to be said about you, you shouldn't say other ugly things about other people. And we have to learn to speak that will encourage, comfort, inspire, and edify. Ask God to guide you to speak words that will honor Him, accomplish His purpose. Let your speech be always with grace, seasoned with salt, that ye may know how you ought to answer every man. Colossians 4:6. Who is a wise man and endure what knowledge among you? Let him show out of good conversation his work with meekness of wisdom. James 3:13. Your words indicate what's in your heart. Luke 6:45. In your efforts to control your tongue, follow Apostle Paul's admiration. Finally, brother, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are loving, whatsoever things are of good report. If there be any virtues, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Philippians 4:8. When the thought of your hearts are focused on what is good and true, your words will reflect it. Bring honor to God and to others. In turn for that, it's saying that anything that is good and pure, we should always honest. We should always glorify it. And just like I said, the tongue could cut you down without moments notice. Because just like I said, I've dealt with it for years and years, and up to just recently, I realized how bad the tongue can be and how bad it can bring a person down. Example, me and a young man, we had some words with each other, and it wasn't nice. And just like I said, I tried to cut him down with my words until I realized, and I looked in his face, and he showed me, hey, you shouldn't be doing this, because you never know what a person is going through. You should always try to lift them up. I should always try to show them the good side. Never put a person down, because you don't want to be put down. I know it's not always. It's easier to think bad things than to think good things, but when you learn to control these things, and you pray and you ask God to help you to control these things, it might not happen that day or the next day, but it will happen. It will happen, and He'll give you the strength, to stop putting people down. Stop letting your hurt reflect in words, and you're hurting other people. These are things that you have to pray about, and you just have to work on, because I'm telling you, saying things and hurtful things to people this day and time is really taking effect. You read about it in the newspaper, you hear about it on the news. So many young kids, being bullied for saying kids saying other things to them, tearing them down. And even though I know some of these kids don't know what they're doing, a lot of them do. And it affects the children, and then the children turn around and they can't deal with it, and they don't know who to go to or where to go to, and they kill themselves. You read about it in the newspaper. But I'm learning that if you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say nothing at all, because you never can tell how it's going to affect the person. And that's all I have to say. Thank you for listening to me, and you have a blessed night. Bye.